There's a fundamental secret to the psychology of money. Most people actually don't know it. That's why they never become financially successful. A lack of money is not really the problem. It's merely a symptom of what's going on inside their head and inside of us itself. Like everything else I've discussed previously, financial success also starts in the mind itself. You have to first decide what you really want. Next, you have to believe it's possible that you actually deserve it. Then you must focus on it by thinking about it and visualizing it as if it were already yours. And finally, you have to be willing to pay the price to get it, with disciplined effort and perseverance over the time. But most people never even get to the first stages of accumulating wealth. Too often they're limited by their own beliefs about money and by the question of whether or not they deserve it as a result. To become wealthy, you need to surface, identify, root out and replace any negative or limiting beliefs that you may have about money. Though it may seem odd that anyone would have a negative predisposition towards wealth, we often have limiting beliefs buried deep inside us in our subconscious that we've picked up over our childhood and our years. Perhaps when you were young, you heard these phrases, just like me. Money doesn't grow on trees. Actually, I challenged my father one day when I was younger, and I said, wait a minute, money's paper. Paper's made from trees. So money surely grows on trees. I got a clip round here for that. There's not enough money to go around is another one we used to hear. It's selfish to want a lot of money. Poor people usually say that. You have to have money to make money. The rich get richer and the poor get poorer. Have you ever heard that? Do you know why that is? Because they keep doing the same things that got them there in the first place. You have to work hard to get your money. Money is the root of all evil. Well, it's not. It's the love of money. It's the root of all evil. People with money are evil, selfish, and unethical. That's what other people used to say. I used to hear that. They used to say when we were younger. It's a mindset. It's pre-programmed from childhood. Rich people are greedy and dishonest. You can't buy happiness. Have you tried it lately? The more money you have, the more problems you have. And if you're rich, you can't be spiritual. Well, that's not factually true. These are the messages, remember, from early childhood. It can actually sabotage and dilute your later financial success because they subconsciously emit a vibration that can cancel out any conscious intentions you have. What did your parents, grandparents, teachers, religious leaders, friends, and co-workers teach you about money as you were growing up or as a young adult? Well, you'd heard similar stories that I've had before. And I've had it all my life, where people have actually said that, and I've heard them saying it. And I'm thinking, and that's why my responses are exactly what I've said. The money is not the root of all evil. Money can do really good things for people. It's the love of the money. It's the root of all evil. So there are many other limiting decisions that they can make about money that can keep you from making or enjoying the amount of money you deserve or want. For example, let's look at Anne. She was in her mid-30s. When she attended one of the seminars in Australia with Jack Canfield, she had inherited a lot of money, but she hated it. She was ashamed of her wealth, hid it, and wouldn't spend it. When the subject of the money came up at the seminar, she began screaming about how money destroyed her life and her family. Her father, who had made a lot of money, was never home. He was either out working hard to make money or jet-setting around the world enjoying the money. As a result, her mother drank excessively, causing constant fighting and screaming in their household. Not surprisingly, Anne's childhood had been a miserable experience, but instead of identifying her father's greed and workaholicism as an actual cause of her pain, Annie decided that as a child, that money was the culprit in all this process. Because her childhood decisions made during times of intense emotional upset tended to stay with us longer, they actually grow stronger over time. Anne was retrained in her negative beliefs around money for more than 20 years. This was all in her head. So it's not okay to make more money than my father. Is that another one you've heard? Well, Scott Schilling, the director of a corporate training for ID Life in Dallas, Texas, was attending one of the seminars for Jack Canfield, where he was working on identifying and releasing limiting beliefs. When he took the participants through the deep process to discover the limiting belief that might be keeping them financially stuck, Scott remembered that when he was 18 years old, he'd just finished his first month as a life assurance agent and earning a commission check of $1,856. His father, who was in his 46th year with the same insurance company and only 1 month away from retirement, received his own paycheck, and it was $1,360. Scott said when he showed the check to his father never said a word. But the look on his face told him he was deeply hurt. And he thought to himself, how could I do that to my dad? How could I make such a great and noble man question himself and his value? Scott had then made a subconscious decision that day not to earn more money than his father in order to avoid causing his father the shame and embarrassment Scott had imagined he had felt that day 25 years earlier. But less than a month after releasing this decision at Jack Canfield's seminar, Scott told him that he received a contract to do a week's work of sales training for a fee equal to 1/5 of his previous year's total salary. Since then, Scott has gone on to become a national sales director for several companies, generating nearly $25 million in sales in the platform for one of them, and developing the training programs for another one that grew their sales from $8 million to $100 million in 5.5 years. It's that limiting belief that causes the issues here. Tom Bohr, as a business consultant, felt like he'd hit a plateau in the terms of his income. With some brilliant assistance from his friend and trainer, Gary Hendricks, he discovered a childhood decision had put a cap on his success. Tom grew up in a middle-class family in Ohio, where they never actually wanted for food or basic necessities. His father made lots of financial sacrifices so that Tom could pursue his dream of playing the clarinet. While he started out playing on his dad's old metal clarinet, Tom soon graduated to the LeBlanc, a very middle-of-the-road wooden instrument. When he began to really excel, his clarinet teacher, Mrs. Zielinski, went to Tom's parents and said, "Your son's really talented. He deserves very, very fine instrument. He deserves a Buffet clarinet." And in 1964, a Buffet clarinet cost $300, which is about $1,500 today. And though this was a lot of money to Tom's family, nevertheless, it was agreed that Mrs. Zielinski would pick out the clarinet, and this would be Tom's Christmas present. On Christmas morning, Tom went downstairs and wrapped the present in package and opened the case and discovered a beautiful clarinet and polished wood body, bright shiny silver keys sitting in the regal blue velvet case. It was the most beautiful thing he'd ever seen. But when Tom turned to thank his parents, he didn't even get a thank you out the mouth of his mum, who said, "We'd never have been able to afford that if your sister had lived." Wow. Tom's sister, Carol, died suddenly when she was 7 years old. In that moment, Tom took on the subconscious belief that the greater success he became, the greater burden he'd be to those who love him, not only financially but emotionally. With Gay Hendricks' help, Tom realised that his subconscious belief had held him back from attaining a level of success that he consciously wanted, but he had convinced himself of a crime of being a burden and was now punishing himself for not allowing himself the level of success that he truly deserved. So how do you get that success? And how do you get that to level of that success? Well, tomorrow we'll talk about the 3 steps to turn around your limiting beliefs about money itself. And I'll see you tomorrow.